I was lucky. I had very good experiences with the two venture capitalists I worked with, most closely John Doerr and Andy Ratcliffe, and so they've really inspired a lot of the thinking behind what we've done. But I've seen a lot of friends of mine start companies over the years, and I've been on boards, and venture capital's hit or miss. When things go sideways, there's a couple things that happen. One is a lot of venture capitalists today just don't have operating experience. They have not run businesses before, and so you get the situation where they're giving advice to entrepreneurs how to run a business when they've never done it. And we just have the view, the old-fashioned view, that if you're going to advise somebody how to run a company, it's helpful to have actually done it before. The other problem that a lot of venture firms have is there's no substance behind the partners, and so you get your partner on your board doing whatever he can do for you or she can do for you, and then there's nothing else in the firm behind that, and you never see the other partners, and so you only get basically one person helping you. And so we're trying to build a much deeper set of capabilities here in key areas like talent and partnerships with big companies and fundraising and so forth that we can really bring to bear to help our company succeed.
So now that's not a novel concept. Other people have done it. What's the difference here? The depth?
Other people have experimented with it. I think our approach is, we come into it having been entrepreneurs our whole careers, and so I think we have real insight into what you actually need when you're an entrepreneur, and so I think we're taking a fresh approach based on, I think we're doing it based on our experience, not based on theory. We're building the venture capital firm that we wish had existed when we were starting companies, and at least we don't think that's been done before.
And your firm is run like a company, you told me. Right. 360 reviews, I think you mentioned, and how you fund the staff. Why don't we talk about that? Yeah,
that's right. That's one of the things, is we actually run more like a company. We run more like an actual company ourselves, and so we run with a level of operational rigor, a level of systems, a level of metrics management that is just not typical for most venture capital firms or partnerships. We're run more like a company. We do have general partners, and so we're not completely different, but we do take management very seriously, and we do take process very seriously. So, for example, we do 360 reviews of our GPs, of ourselves, and ultimately for the entire firm. What that means is we have outside professionals interview all the constituencies that we touch, our investors, our entrepreneurs, our CEOs, and then also all of our internal people and each other. And then we do aggregated results of what everybody actually thinks of everybody else. And so it's actually very eye-opening to find out what people actually think of you when you're not in the room. So, and it's a standard process at well-run companies. It's just never been applied to venture capital before.
What do they think of you when you're not in the room?
So, they're generally fans.
You also said that everything is measured, that you're a proponent of metrics, and that you're big Salesforce.com users. What's behind that? Why is that important? Yeah, so again, we run like a company. So in a company, if you're running a Salesforce or product development organization, you're tracking and measuring things very carefully, because basically the old adage is you can't manage what you can't measure. So you pay a lot of attention to metrics and to numbers. So we're doing the same thing here. So we run our entire firm on Salesforce.com. We track and log every contact we have with every entrepreneur, with every industry expert, with every big company, with every investor. So we have detailed analytics. For example, at the end of the year, we know exactly where our deal flow has come from. We know exactly who the sources of our incoming deal flow are. We know who we need to spend more time focusing on the next 12 months. We need to know where we need to build better relationships. We know about every other investor we've worked with. If we've talked to an expert in a field 2 years ago, we still have the records of that online. And if we have somebody new come in and talk to that same person, they'll know, so they don't have to repeat the conversation. And so everything is tracked and measured and analyzed that way. And does it give the entrepreneur or your portfolio companies a different experience when they deal with you?
Yeah, I think our goal is to come across as extremely professional, extremely organized. We don't waste people's time. We know what we're doing. We know what we're talking about. We have a complete record of everything we've done. We're building up information and knowledge and relationships and a network across the entire firm. And so if you touch us once, you touch the entire firm. You have a connection to us. You know how to plug into us, and we know how to deal with you. And we think fundamentally we're running a network. We're in a network business, relationship business, and we think that makes us a lot easier to deal with.
You started the firm 3 years ago at a time that a lot of people wouldn't have thought would be a good time to start a VC firm. So, and you obviously have been around Silicon Valley for a while. What were you seeing in the Valley then? And maybe that inspired you or gave you the confidence to do this, and how has it changed over the past 3 years? Yeah, so one is we saw that companies were being built differently, but that the financing environment hadn't changed yet. And so we saw more of these companies that weren't raising venture capital as their first round. Instead, they were raising a seed round of financing. And that was being done almost entirely by individuals. And venture capital firms weren't participating in that. And so we thought a new venture capital firm would want to have a bigger focus on the seed side. Conversely, we saw these companies, companies Facebook and Zynga and Groupon and so forth, that were going from $0 to $1 billion of
in revenue at unprecedented speed, and then we're then raising a lot of money in the private market to be able to finance their growth, in some cases years before they would ever actually go public. Whereas in the old days, these companies would all have gone public much faster. And so we thought that a modern venture capital firm might also be more active on the growth side. And so this idea of being stage agnostic is kind of central to to what we do. And so we thought basically let's start a firm that maps the financing strategy and the venture capital firm strategy to how the new companies are actually getting built. And I think that's been one of the reasons we've been able to have the impact that we've had.
So has it played out pretty much how you thought?
A lot of it has. So far it has. Now, it's still early. We like to say we knock on wood a lot. It's been 3 years in. So, the good news is we've had some good returns on our first fund is doing well, but we still have a lot to prove. So
a lot of the entrepreneurs I talked to who were commenting on what you bring to the party when they consult and talk to you really like your operational advice. Not to dismiss that you probably bring a lot of technical knowledge to the conversations as well, but I was talking to Airbnb and they were talking about how you were very hands-on in helping them through their crisis last summer, and that told them how to go with their gut and feel passionate about what they were doing and go with their instincts, but also to make changes quickly. That kind of operational view of you. I mean, I think most people would classify you as a technologist first and foremost, and perhaps maybe make a nod to your operations. What do you think you bring to these guys when you go out and talk to them, or what is it that you're trying to tell them?
Well, I think, I spent my life building companies. So I am a technologist by background, but my entire professional career has been building companies around technologies. And I've just always been fascinated by the process of which, for how these companies get built. And, I'm fascinated when there are 3 people, in a garage, and I'm fascinated when there are 3,000 people in their own campus and every stage in between. So I've just always been interested in that. And then I've done it myself, multiple times. And, one of the things we like to say is we've made all the mistakes. Like we've successfully made all the mistakes in our own careers. And so we've been through almost every circumstance that any of our entrepreneurs can go through. And so we can typically give them a lot of perspective in terms of what works and what doesn't. The other thing, though, that I think really comes through, in what you said is we have a lot of very deep respect for the entrepreneurial process, and we have a lot of respect for the entrepreneur. And we have a lot of respect for the entrepreneur's understanding of the market that they're in and what they're capable of doing. And so a lot of what we try to do is help the entrepreneurs actually develop their own skills to be able to build their own companies based on their own instincts and based on kind of their gut level knowledge of what they're doing.
Some of your staff here says that you're teaching them how to fish.
Yeah, yes. We would say, number one, we love when one of our entrepreneurs goes on to become a much better operator than we ever were. Like, build a much better company than we've ever been able to build. Like, that's a fantastic outcome, and I hope we can help with that. The other is we really understand what they know and then what we know. And it's really hard to overestimate how much they know about what they're actually doing in their business. And it's really easy to overestimate what we might know, because they're in their business 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're an investor. We're in and out. And so we have a lot of respect for what they know, the depth of their knowledge, and a healthy skepticism on our own ability to tell them exactly what to do, but hopefully to give them some of the techniques and some of the methods that will help them achieve what they're trying to do.